Okay, so welcome everybody to this first lecture of the groundwater hydrology course. We will be doing this online at least until next Thursday. Um, I should be back in India by that time, and then we'll continue with our physical lectures. We are going to be going on a slightly accelerated schedule this semester, right? Um, because I want to wrap up things quickly a little bit. So let's see how it goes. So today's lecture is going to be just an introduction of the way the course is organized, the timetable, how the course will be evaluated, the grades, and then we'll start talking a little bit about what groundwater is and then why we should study groundwater hydrology and so on. Okay, so before we get into all of that, I do realize that there's a few new faces. Okay, we have a few of the MTech students who have just recently joined IIT Tirupati who are here. So I would request, okay, the MTech students, if you can give us a quick introduction, that would be nice. Whoever is here, just unmute yourself and just say your name, where you're from, where you did your BTech, then we'll go on. Okay. Anybody? MTechs? Okay. Let's call out somebody. Vignesh, M101. Vignesh, right? Can you just
Yes. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Vignesh. Can you just quickly give us an introduction?
Sir, my name is Agisa Vignesh, and I completed my undergraduation at Sri Venkateswara University of College of Engineering.
Okay, nice. So where are you from, Vignesh?
Sir, I am Andhra Pradesh, sir.
Where in Andhra Pradesh?
Sir, Anantapur district, sir.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, thank you, Vignesh. Alina Johnson, can you give us a quick introduction?
Hello.
Okay, so if there's multiple people in the room, make sure everybody else is on mute.
Sir, my name is Alina Johnson. I'm from Kerala. I completed my BTech in Civil Engineering from TKM College of Engineering.
Okay, great, great. Thank you, Alina. Dio Bhankar, I don't see the full name. Can you give us an introduction, please?
Hello, sir. I
Yes,
am Purnima. I
go ahead.
completed my graduation in SVU. I am from Tirupati.
Oh, wonderful. Welcome, Purnima. Okay, next. Gautam, go ahead. Okay, I have a suggestion for, I'm assuming that all the MTech students are in the same room. What I suggest, one of you unmute your phone and everybody can uh, introduce yourself through that, and then all the others can put their phone, bring your volumes down so that we can hear without the echo. Yeah, anybody, any one of you. Gautam, you can go get started, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, my name is Shekhar. I am from Parbani, Maharashtra. I did completed my BTech in civil engineering from Karman Autonomous Institute in Maharashtra, from Nanded.
Okay, good. Thank you, Shekhar.
Thank
Hemant Kumar.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Myself, Hemant Kumar. I did my BTech in Bangalore, Karnataka. I'm from Karnataka.
Okay, wonderful. Welcome. Manish.
Thank you.
Hi sir, my name is Manish Chauhan. I am from Madhya Pradesh. I have
done my BTech from Jamildev Group of Institution in Civil Engineering. Now I join in MTech with specialization Water Resource Engineering.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Manish. Who's next? 109. I don't see the full name.
Hello, sir. Myself, P. Sharanteja. I did my BTech in Civil Engineering in Telangana, Warangal.
Okay, wonderful. Shantanu, welcome, welcome. Shantanu Singh, I think. Quickly. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, we can't hear you. Shantanu Singha. Okay, we can't hear you. We'll come back to you. Sharayu Vijay.
Good morning, sir.
Mute, mute, please.
Sorry for the disturbance, sir. Good morning. My name is Sharayu Dahibhate. I did my BTech in Mechanical Engineering from VJTI Mumbai, and I'm from Nagpur, Maharashtra. And I have been working. I worked in water wastewater treatment engineering consulting for 4 years, and now I'm here to specialize in environmental engineering.
Okay, wonderful. So this is the first time we have a mechanical engineering BTech student in our classroom. Thank you very much. Welcome. Vicky
Thank you,
Kumar.
sir.
Hi, sir. My name is.
Is that right?
I joined here to complete my BTech in civil.
Okay, couldn't hear very clearly, but that's okay. Let's move on. Shantanu, if you can finish
Yes,
up,
sir. Sir, I am audible, Santanu.
go ahead.
Yes, sir, I am Santan Singho from Odisha. I done my BTech in Civil Engineering in Biju Patna University of Technology, Odisha. Now my specialization is water resource and environmental engineering.
Okay, so okay, thank you very much. Wonderful. Now, as you can see, even within a small classroom of about 10 or 12 MTech students, we have representation from across India, which is wonderful. Once I'm back, we'll have our physical classes. At that time, you'll get a chance to meet all the BTech students as well, who are also from all over India. So that's very nice. Every time I listen to, okay, please be on mute. There's an echo issue. Yeah, thank you. Um, so it's wonderful to have this variety of people from all over the country. In fact, for the first time, we also have somebody with a non-civil engineering BTech. So that is also going to be interesting. Let's see how that evolves. Okay, so what we'll do today is to spend some time on understanding how the course is going to be organized, how we will evaluate it, how the grades will be assigned, and so on. And then we'll get into a little bit of more detail on what exactly groundwater is and why we should study groundwater hydrology and so on. Okay. So that according to the timetable, we have the C slot, which is on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So we will meet from 10 to 10:50 on Tuesdays, 9 to 9:50 on Wednesday, and 11 to 11:50 on Fridays. Okay. So we will have the online lecture at the same time. That's according to schedule. And if I am extending the lecture beyond 9:50 or 10:50 or 11:50, please feel free to stop me. Don't let me go on because you will have classes after this also. Uh, Suppose sometimes I don't notice the time and I just keep talking. If at all that happens, please somebody can unmute and then say, please stop. It's time for us to go, and I'll stop. Okay, no issues with that. Okay, so that's as far as the timetable is concerned. In terms of the evaluation, we are going to have three components that will lead to the final grade. The final exam will be for 50% of the grade. We will have a mid-semester exam for around 30%, and we will have 3 to 4 mini projects worth about 20% of the total grade. So this is how the the grade for this particular course is going to be assigned. Are there any questions on this aspect? Anybody has any questions? Feel free to unmute and just go ahead and ask your question. Okay. I will assume there are no questions, but if you do have questions, you can also email them to me, or any comments that you have, you can send me an email. Everybody knows my email address. I've already sent an email to a few of you. So you can also communicate to me through the Google Classroom or by email, or you can send a WhatsApp message. If you need my phone number, I can give it to you, my WhatsApp phone number, and so on. Okay, so all of these different components are going to count towards your final grade. Now, when it comes to these mini projects, since we have a class of around 32 or 34 people, right, it's going to be difficult to have individual projects, because then you'll have 32 different projects and that becomes very difficult to handle. So what we'll do is break up the class into maybe 10 groups of 3 each, or 10 or 11 groups of 3 each. So that will be around 33, 11 times 3, right? And then we will go ahead with that. So it will be a group project. So each group will present their work. Now, these projects typically will involve a combination of doing some analysis or doing some reading by yourself, and then making a presentation, and then delivering a presentation in the class, in front of the whole class, right? So it's not just me who is going to be the audience. Other students in the class will also be the audience when you present your mini projects. Okay, so as I said, 3 components. One is to do the actual work itself, whether it is some kind of a calculation or a computation or some analysis or some reading that you have to understand and summarize and so on. And then you have to prepare a presentation, and then you have to deliver the presentation. And usually what I do is, there is no one fixed person who comes and speaks every single time on behalf of the rest of the group. I can call on any single person within a particular group to come and present, so that everybody gets a chance to speak in front of the class and become more confident and so on, right? So the objective of these projects is not only to be able to do the project itself, which is the scientific part. It's also to learn how to communicate, how to prepare a presentation, and how to deliver it in front of an audience, right? It's a way to improve your verbal communication skills, okay, along with your presentation skills. Okay, so that's the course evaluation pattern. In terms of the grades, these are the different ranges for which the different grades will be assigned. 90 and above will be S, 80 to 89 will be A, and so on and so forth. And this is something that I've been doing for a very long time with this course and other courses, and it seems to be a scheme that's working fairly well, and we haven't had any major problems with this particular pattern of grading. Let me also assure you that these marks that you see over here only reflect the minimum grade that you may get, right? So for example, if you score 75 out of 100 at the end of the semester, you are assured you will at least get a B. Okay, if you are between 70 and 79, you will at least get a B. If the class topper is at 82 and you are at 75, then there might be some kind of a relative grading, or grading on a curve, which might mean that you might move above, but there's no chance of you going below that. Okay, so if you get a 75 or a 65, whatever it may be, you are assured of getting a B or a C, as the case may be, right? It may be higher, but it can never be lower. It will be at least B, maybe higher. I don't know. Depends on how the rest of the class performs, right? Okay. Any questions on this? Anybody would like to get anything clarified? Okay. So I'm going to assume that there's no immediate confusion about this particular idea. Okay. The other thing is, since we are doing these classes online, I'm also, you might have noticed, I've started recording these lectures. So any online lecture that I do, I will ensure that it is recorded and uploaded so you can watch it later in case you miss it for some reason, you don't have internet access or your laptop had some issue or whatever, right? Or you just missed the class for some reason, you will be able to watch it a little bit later on. Within a few hours, I'll upload the video and then you'll have access to it. And of course, once I'm back to Tirupati and I'm taking classes physically, then you are expected to attend classes. Then there'll be no option of recordings and all of that. Okay. All right. So let's keep going. In terms of the textbooks that we're going to use, the predominant one that we'll use is Groundwater Hydrology by Todd. It is a very famous book. It's available in our library, and I've just shown a picture of the book. Usually, I just bring the book to class and show it physically to you. This is what it looks like. Some covers have a slightly different color pattern. Maybe they are red or something like that. But you will find this book in the library, or you might also be able to buy this on Amazon or whatever. Right? It's available. It's available for purchase. Not very expensive, probably 800 rupees, maybe a little bit more. When I purchased it about 5-6 years back, I think it was 800 rupees. If you are really interested, you can also purchase this book. There's a couple of other books that we will be using as reference books. One is Groundwater, which is very famous, probably the first book written on groundwater by Fries and Cherry. It's a kind of a like the Bible for groundwater, right? Now that book is available for free online. I'll find the link and I'll send it to the whole class, so you can download that book legally online, right? It's available for free. And then the other book that we'll be using is Applied Hydrogeology by Fetter. Again, if there's any relevant reading material, I'll make sure I scan it and then send it to the whole class. So if there's something very important from that particular book that I want you all to read, I will make up, I'll scan that and send it over to you. Okay. For the rest of it, it'll be Todd, the first book, the textbook that we'll be using predominantly throughout the semester. Okay. All right. So let's keep moving on. Now, we will ask a question. First of all, what is groundwater? Right? Anybody would like to speak up on what you think groundwater is? What is your understanding of groundwater? What is groundwater? Anybody?
The infiltrated part of precipitation that's seeped into ground.
Okay, the infiltrated part of precipitation that has seeped into the ground. Okay. Seems like a reasonable answer, right? Seems okay. Okay, somebody sent a chat. Precipitation infiltrating into the ground. Okay. Seems reasonable. Pretty much the same answer that I think Rohan gave that. Okay, anybody else wants to speak?
The subsurface water that infiltrates into the ground through the precipitation. After then, it reaches the groundwater.
Okay.
We can say it is a groundwater. Then we extract it and use for our purposes like agriculture or drinking water, called groundwater hydrology.
Okay. Okay. I agree with everything you said. So now, all of you are correct about the source of groundwater. Okay. Everybody is correct that groundwater is precipitation that has infiltrated into the ground and has gone in there. Now, that is what you are describing to me is the source of groundwater. The question that I'm asking is, what is groundwater?
Sir, I would like to add.
Go ahead.
Water hold beneath the ground surface by highly porous strata.
Okay. So the water that is held under the land surface in the porous strata is groundwater. Okay. Thank you. Please mute yourself. There does seem to be this feedback issue. some echoes. Well, okay, that typical, since if multiple people are in the same classroom, okay, and and you're watching on your own phones, then this issue becomes a problem, right? Because when one person speaks, then it's audible in the other person's phone, and then your microphone picks that up, and then you get this feedback issue. It might not be a bad idea to, if you're all in one room, maybe one person brings a laptop, and then, or two or three people sit together and something like that. I don't know how to fix this issue. Let's try to work our way around this. We'll see how it can be handled.
Sir, one person have iPad.
Okay,
Can we use 5-6 person in a one iPad?
you can do that. The only issue is then, I mean, you might feel that you're not able to see the screen properly, or because there's only that kind of issues there. You can do that, but I just don't want you to feel uncomfortable that you're not able to see the screen, you're not sitting straight in front of the screen, something like that. Somebody will get into a fight because of this. I don't want that to happen. But anyway, it's okay, it's a minor issue, we'll have to handle it. It's okay, we'll see how it goes. The ideal thing would be that if you just presented it on the screen in the classroom. You must be sitting in a classroom, I'm assuming, right? Are you in AB2?
Yes, sir.
I think if that room has does it have speakers around it? Do you see if there are speakers in that room?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mel, the ideal thing would be that if you can just connect to that to the computer in that room. Don't do it today, maybe for next class, before class, if you can just try to set up on that computer, then there's just one video that everybody can see sitting in the classroom, right? So then that might be, and the BTech guys, you could also go to that room and then watch it. Then you get the feeling of sitting in the classroom atmosphere instead of wherever you guys are sitting now. I have no idea. Anyway, so we'll worry about that later. Okay, so something very important was said now by the person who spoke previously. He said groundwater is the water that is present in the porous structure below the land surface. Okay, so the first thing is that it is present below the land surface, and that it is present in the pores between the soil particles. So, for example, if I were to draw an image, so let's imagine there's a lot of people believe that there is like a big reservoir of water, and then you drill a well and you take water out of it, some kind of pumping rate, right? There is some underground. Okay, I apologize for the terrible handwriting, but with this, whatever fancy device I'm using, this is the best I can do. I assure you, my blackboard handwriting is way better than this. Anyway, so this is some people have the conception that this is what water is like. There is some underground reservoir from which we are taking. This is not groundwater. This is not groundwater. Okay. So what groundwater is I'm going to exaggerate now. So just imagine that there are lots of soil particles, right? I'm just, obviously the soil particles are not going to be shaped like this, but just imagine that these are some soil particles present under the earth surface. Then the water that is present between the pores, between the soil particles, in the pore spaces between the soil particles, that this is groundwater. Now, for short, I'm going to say GW. Okay, it is not a reservoir of or a tank of water present under the ground from which we are tapping out water, right? It is this. It is the water that is present in between the pores of the different soil particles that are present under the land surface, under the earth surface. Okay, there are a few places where you may have rocks, right? So for example, if I have a rock which has got a fracture, okay, so for example, if I have some kind of a rock with a fracture in it, so this could be a rock fracture, right? If there's a fracture in a rock, water could be present in that fracture as well. That would also be called groundwater, but fractured rocks don't hold a lot of water. They hold a very small amount of water. Typically, when I talk about groundwater, I mean this kind of water that is present between the soil particles. Water that is present in fractured rocks is a very small component of the total groundwater that's uh, present. Okay, so the picture that I want you to have of groundwater is not this, the one that I've drawn on the left, which is like that of an underground reservoir filled with water that we can just take out. That is not how groundwater exists. It exists in this other, the one that I've drawn on the right side, where there are different soil particles of different shapes and sizes, and there is some water present in between those particles in the pore volumes, okay, or also in the rock fractures, but that's a relatively smaller percentage of the groundwater that's present in the earth. Okay, so this is the first conception that we are going to have of groundwater, of its physical occurrence. Okay, so now moving on, if you want to look at this in a global picture, if you look at the total water available on the planet, 97% of all the water that's present on the earth is actually salt water that's present in the oceans. The Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, whatever, Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea, all of these put together forms around 97% of all the water that's present on the earth's surface, right? Only 3% of all the water that's present is actually present in what we call fresh water, in the form of fresh water, right? So although the earth is referred to as the blue planet, which means a planet that's filled with water, most of it, the vast majority of that water, 97% of it, is unusable because it is not fresh water, salt water. Okay, now what is interesting is that this 3% that I've drawn over here, this fresh water, out of that 3%, around 69%, 68.7 or whatever, right, is present actually in the ice caps and the glaciers. So the North Pole and the South Pole and then all the other glaciers put together accounts for around 69% of all the fresh water. Okay, so of all the water on the planet, 97% is unusable. Out of the remaining 3%, another 69% is locked away in ice caps and glaciers where no human beings are living, or very few human beings are living. So again, it's mostly unusable. The rest of the third, around 31%, out of that 31%, around 30% is groundwater, right? So this is something that a lot of people find very surprising, right? That groundwater is actually such a huge source of fresh water on the planet, right? Now, in your BTech, you would have studied a course. In some colleges it's called water resources engineering. Some places call it hydrology. Some places call it engineering hydrology. The name of the title of the course might be different from one place to another, but the content will be about trying to understand the occurrence and movement of water on the earth's surface, or on the earth, right? But the excessive focus of all of these courses at the BTech level is on surface water, right? And as you can see, it is hardly 0.5% of all the available fresh water on the planet. When you think of water, the first thing you think of is some river, the Ganga, the Yamuna, the Brahmaputra, the Indus, the Krishna, the Godavari, the Kaveri, the Nile, Mississippi, Amazon, whatever it is, right? All of these big rivers along which the great civilizations have flourished and so on, all of that is only 0.3% of the 3% of fresh water available on the planet. So you can imagine what a small number we are talking about, right? So this is something very fascinating, right? Although surface water is a very tiny fraction of all the fresh water available on the planet, we spend a lot of time talking about surface water and very little time talking about groundwater. So if you go back to your BTech water resources engineering course or a hydrology course, you will remember that you spoke a lot about other aspects of uh, fresh water, but you spent very little time in talking about groundwater. Now that is how the science of hydrology has evolved over over the last 100-150 years of systematic study, right? Because surface water is visible to the eye, it is directly accessible, and it is easier to understand and control and measure, right? So therefore, at an undergraduate level, typically you will spend a lot of time in understanding surface water and how to handle surface water, how to measure surface water, how to manage surface water, and so on. But very little time is spent usually on understanding groundwater, right? So typically, when I deliver a hydrology course to undergraduate students, I spend around 15 to 20% of the time talking about groundwater. The rest of this 75 or 80% of the time is spent on surface water, right? That's just the way it is. Okay, so that's not an accident. That is by design because of the way the science has developed over the years. Okay, but this semester, this entire semester in this course, we are going to be talking only about groundwater and nothing else, right? I won't say nothing else, but we will talk predominantly about groundwater. Okay, different aspects of groundwater. All right, so now let's move on. Then the next question, I've kind of answered that question, but let us probe a little bit further and ask the question, why should we study groundwater hydrology? Right? Anybody would like to give their thoughts on why studying groundwater hydrology is important? Why? Why is this so interesting, or why is it so important? Maybe it's not interesting, but maybe it's important. I think it's interesting and important, but that's my opinion. But what do you guys think? Why do you think we should study groundwater hydrology? Anyone? BTEX?
Sir, this is a source of water which is present everywhere around the world.
Okay.
Surface water bodies are usually in some parts, so people might face difficulty due to distance, but groundwater is present everywhere. So we just need a method to pump it out.
Okay. So you're okay. Thank you. So one of the points, I think Yash was speaking. So what he was saying is that it is readily available everywhere. Because it is readily available everywhere and we have access to it, we should try to understand it, right? Okay, that seems like a uh, reasonable reason. Okay, anything else?
Shortage of surface water.
Shortage of surface water. Okay, so whenever you try to access water for your domestic or industry or irrigation purposes, whatever it may be, the first thing you think about is surface water. If you are not able to find any surface water, then we'll go to groundwater, right? So that's what you're trying to say. If there is a shortage of surface water, not sufficient, then we will look for alternate sources, and the immediate alternate source that we can think of is groundwater. Okay, so I think there's a chat that somebody sent. Raise the hand, Shantanu. Yes,
May I audible, sir?
go ahead, Shantanu.
Sir, as we see the graph that the groundwater is available for 30%, but the surface water is 0.3%.
Okay,
So we need to extract the groundwater for our daily life purposes like agriculture, like daily use, for irrigation purposes.
okay, okay. So yeah, the idea is kind of similar to what others are saying. Since there's a lot of it present, right? Why don't we use it? Won't it be a better way of optimizing our resources? Yeah, seems like a reasonable idea. Okay, somebody has written in the chat for better prediction of hydrological cycles in a particular region. Okay, okay. So when you say better prediction of hydrological cycle in a particular region, I'm not sure what exactly the implication is. Uh, anyway, but basically, if you try to understand one aspect of the hydrologic cycle, it helps us understand other aspects of the hydrological cycle, right? Uh, okay, another answer that I'm seeing is its action on structures beneath the ground level. Okay, so groundwater is present under the Earth's surface, and it might play some role by um, interacting with structures under the land surface. So, for example, we have foundations which are under the land surface, and then if the water table is very high, then it'll impart some pressure on the foundation, and then we might be interested to understand it from that perspective. Okay. Um, the other aspect is that there's lots of metros being constructed around the country. Almost every major city in the country is constructing or is already constructed a metro or is extending an existing metro and so on. And most of these metro rail projects typically involve an underground tunneling or so on and so forth, where again the interaction with groundwater might be something that we need to understand. Okay, another point of view that I'm looking at is to study pollutants which infiltrate into the strata. We need to study the subject, of course. Okay, so there's also the possibility that there might be some pollutants that enter into the groundwater, into the land surface, under the land surface, and then we would like to understand groundwater pollution and how it impacts um, the water quality under the land surface. Okay. Another possibility. Now, I'm going to throw an idea out. You guys, you can think about this. There are what are called. Okay, where's the mouse pointer? Oh, there it is. Okay. Well conflicts. Okay. Does the word give you any idea what it means? Well conflict. What would a well conflict mean?
Sir, whenever we extract water from the ground, it may be stratified or unstratified layer are present.
Okay.
So we may get the leaky or porch aquifer at the
Okay.
time well conflict are created.
But what is a well conflict?
That means I thought about the stratified and non-stratified layer. If the
Okay.
stratified layer are present during the extraction of water, then there may be well complete.
Okay. Now, okay. I think you're talking about it from a slightly different angle. When I mean well conflict, I mean a conflict between two users of water. So, for example, let's say I have a neighbor who's very rich, who has the ability to drill a very deep well. Okay, because if you want to drill a well, if you want to drill a bore well, it costs money. Every foot that you drill the well, you have to pay the well drilling agency a certain amount. It might be around 100 rupees per foot or 200 rupees per foot, depending on the cost of depending on the type of soil. Right? If it's very hard, rocky kind of location like our Tirupati campus, if you drill a well on our IIT Tirupati campus, there's very hard rock present under the land surface, and so drilling a well over there will be very expensive. But if you go to some other location which has got nice fine soil, uh, fine grained soil, relatively softer, then it's easier to drill a well, right? So my neighbor has got a lot of money, is able to drill a very deep well. I don't have so much money, but I also want to use groundwater. I drill a shallow well, but what happens is a person who's got a deep well and who is pumping at a very high rate. Okay, suppose my neighbor has got a very big farm, 100 acres farm, and my neighbor is irrigating it, growing some crops, and drilling a lot of, pumping out a lot of water. Then what will happen is, because I'm nearby, the impact of pumping will result in my well going dry, right? Because my well is only 100 feet deep, whereas my neighbor's well is 600 feet or 800 feet deep. And the pumping by my neighbor causes the water level to go down more than 100 feet at my well. Then I am no longer able to access water. Okay, so that's what I mean by well conflict, right? Where the impact of one person's pumping is felt on another person, right? or my the availability of water for in my well is reduced because of the pumping or behavior of users, a user or other users around my well, right? So that's what we refer to as well conflict. So to resolve these kind of well conflicts also, we need to understand groundwater hydrology, right? So we've spoken about why we should study groundwater hydrology. Any other thoughts on why we should study groundwater hydrology? So we've spoken about its ready availability, shortage of surface water, uh, pollution aspects, how to understand how the pollutant moves underground, well conflicts, anything else? I have at least one or two more points to add. Anybody else would like to add on something?
Yes, sir. The pollution like groundwater is whenever we dumping something or after then the leachate will be released through the groundwater and it may extract whenever we extract the water it may causes the carcinogenic compound
Sure.
and we fall in cancer also.
Sure, sure. So when this groundwater pollution enters the ground surface, the pollutant or the contaminant will travel along with the water, right? So it will travel along with the groundwater, and although the pollutant started off here, it may spread to other places. So it may travel. So this is called the fate and transport of contaminants. Okay, so the fate and transport of contaminants in the groundwater, in the underground surface, is also something that we are interested to understand, right? Any other aspects that anybody would like to highlight? So this is one aspect that a lot of people are trying to pay attention to, which is the ecological impact of groundwater pumping, right? So just like when I said well conflict, I indicated that it could be due to one human being causing an impact on another human being. So that is still impact of human behavior on other human or on other human beings. But it could also be that the impact of human behavior impacts the nearby ecological systems, right? So for example, now you can imagine this. Let us say there is a river that is flowing at a particular location. Now, those of you who have studied hydrology will remember that the stream flow in a river has got two components. One is the runoff component, the direct runoff, which comes from precipitation. And then the other component is base flow. Base flow is the component of stream flow which comes from the underground contribution of the aquifers, right? So what happens is when a river is flowing, let us imagine a river in let's say the Krishna or the Godavari or the Kaveri. I'm deliberately using a river in southern India which is not fed by the snow from the Himalayas, the melting snow from the Himalayas, right? So obviously the Krishna or the Godavari or the what was the other one, Kaveri, these rivers are not getting water from snow. They are getting water from a combination of runoff due to precipitation and base flow coming from the groundwater aquifers. Now, if you were to go back 100 years or 150 years, these rivers that I named in South India, they used to flow throughout the year, right? Classic example would be the river Kaveri. Today, if you go to Tamil Nadu and look at the river Kaveri, you will see that the river does not flow 12 months of the year. It may flow 5 to 6 months, maybe 7 months of the year. Rest of the time, at certain locations, the river is completely dry, right? There's just no water. Now, this is a combined impact of two things. One is there are so many dams built across the river which stop the water, right? So whenever you build a dam, you're stopping the water from flowing. But That's not the only way in which water reaches the river, right? So if I were to draw a simplified cross section, let's try to do this. Let's say this is my river. Okay, so the water that flows off from the land surface, which we call runoff, contributes to the river, but the river also gets water from underground, right? This portion we refer to as base flow, right? Now this base flow can get reduced if there's a lot of pumping going on. So for example, if I have a pumping well nearby over here who's pumping out a lot of water, then this base flow may just get cut off, right? This water will no longer flow into the river. It will be flowing towards this pumping well, right? So when that happens, then this river gets impacted, right? When a river gets impacted, it's not only the just the water in the river. There's also fish and other aquatic organisms that live in that river, right? And then there will be birds that come and eat the fish in that river, and so on and so forth. So all of these are connected, right? So groundwater and surface water, although we talk about them as separate entities, they're actually connected. What used to be groundwater becomes surface water when it comes out into the river, right? And then what is surface water can sometimes percolate into the ground and become groundwater. So these are exchangeable, interchangeable. These two systems can exchange water across boundaries, right? So therefore there are very serious ecological impacts, and this is something that people have been starting to understand in the last maybe 20, 30, 40 years. Prior to that, nobody really cared much about groundwater. They just assumed that it's just there, let's just keep taking out as much as we want, but it's not really uh, uh, you know sustainable in the long run, which is what we are understanding these days as we move on. Okay, so these are some of the reasons that we will study groundwater hydrology. And the next slide, I was going to talk about what we will be learning in this particular course, but I think I'm out of time. So since you might have another class to go to, I will stop at this point in time, and then we will continue again. I think tomorrow we have the next class. We will meet tomorrow and we will continue from there. Okay. So thank you very much. Take care, everybody, and see you tomorrow. Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Go ahead.
A few people from our batch, MTech batch, did not receive the email, Google Classroom link and the meeting link. Can you send
Okay.
it again to the group, or we can make another list and give it to you?
I will. I think I will add the students who did not receive the email. I think I know uh, the roll numbers of those who have not been added. So I'll send the invitation again to join the classroom. You can join in there. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Take care. Thank you very much, everybody. See you all tomorrow. Okay.